The All Blacks have a rematch up against England this weekend. It will be their third time playing them in 2024, and in this video I'll be giving my All Blacks XV of who I'd like to see in the starting lineup take on this strong English side. Now, I have made a few changes compared to what I had in my Scott Robertson prediction for his side, but of course do let me know who you guys would have in your All Blacks XV in the comments down below. But we will start with the front row. I haven't really seen these three positions at all be debated. Number 1, Ethan de Groot. Number 2, Cody Taylor. And number 3, Tyrell Lomax. Now, I did feel like Pasilio Tosi did quite well up against the Japanese. I still see him as that guy who can come off the bench, though, seeing as they don't really want to break up this front row combo. De Groot, it will be great to see him get some minutes, definitely, because ever since his neck injury, he hasn't quite found his best form. Cody Taylor, he is in some of the best form of his life at the moment, so you got to give him minutes up against England, Ireland, and also the French. But looking through at the locking duo, this is where I've gone number 4, Scott Barrett, so having him return into the side and also be the captain for the All Blacks here, and number 5, Tupou. Now, the locking duo is somewhere that we have seen quite a bit of debate throughout the week about. Patrick Tuipulotu, for me, had a man-of-the-match performance up against Japan, coming into the side and getting to captain them up against the Japanese as well. Now, the reason that I haven't gone with him in the starting lineup, in fact, there's a couple. For one, I think that we can't discredit Tupou's current form. He was sensational throughout the Rugby Championship, and the last thing you want to do now is start taking him out of that starting lineup, because if you actually look at the locking duo and you take captaincy aside, Barrett would be the guy that you switch out and you put Tuipulotu in for him. But that is not what they'll end up doing because of Scott Barrett's captaincy. So the only way that that works out is if Tuipulotu was to become the full-time captain rather than part-time. My second reason, which I feel is actually the better one, is the All Blacks need something off the bench to help them in that last 20-minute period, because so many times over and over throughout the Rugby Championship, we even saw it in the game up against Japan, they just looked a little bit lost. So having someone with the experience of Patrick Tuipulotu, that calm under pressure type of mindset, and also his turnover game could get the All Blacks a couple crucial ones in the later stages. So I feel like that would be the best combination that they can do at the moment based off who the captaincy is with for the All Blacks. But we should also mention Scott Barrett, the last couple games that he played up against Australia, he actually did quite well. So hopefully he's building into a nice vein of form throughout the November internationals as well. Moving on to the loose forward trio. Here is where it gets tricky, because after that Japanese game, we saw Samipeni Finau have his best game, I believe, ever in an All Blacks kit. He had the most tackles out of any player, making 18. He had some good running meters, scoring a try out wide, and also winning a few lineouts, which is something that a lot of people had him in the side up against England last time predominantly to do, to have that little bit of extra height and help the ABs when it came to the lineout. But you've also got Wallace Satiti, who's played a little bit of 6, but up against the Japanese, he played number 8, and he had 98 metres carried throughout that game. And then you've got Sam Cane, number 7 for that contest up against Japan, who I felt actually had a pretty solid performance, although, of course, there were a couple shaky moments. But now you've got a loose forward trio that you've got to work out what the best combination up against England, up against Ireland, and up against France will be. So for myself, I've actually gone number 6, Samipeni Finau, number 7, Ardie Savea, number 8, Wallace Satiti. I feel like that last game up against Japan, definitely with the amount of injuries that the All Blacks have at the moment, is it not the perfect opportunity to finally transfer Ardie Savea to that number 7 jersey? And yes, there's a chance that he may not want that role. And there is also a chance that Samipeni Finau was just a one-hit wonder from that game up against Japan, and maybe if he was in the starting lineup again, he would struggle up against harder competition. But is it not just worth giving it a go, seeing as you're not going to have Sam Cane next year? So someone has to fill that number 7 jersey, and whether that is going to be Dalton Papali'i, he can't at the moment because he's injured. Whether that's Ethan Blackett, he can't at the moment because he's also injured. Peter Lakai only having his debut up against the Japanese, so he will be extremely inexperienced if he's thrown in the deep end there. So is this the time? Savia to 7, Satiti to 8, because he really played that number 8 enforcer role well. And I believe he'll be able to do it up against top opposition, not just up against the lower ranked sides in the world rankings. So this is the loose forward trio I would like to see. I don't see them doing it though. I believe the logical thing that they'll do is probably go Wallace Satiti number 6, Sam Cane 7, Savia 8, and then have Finau making his way off the bench. But we'll have to wait and see what Scott Robertson will be thinking. Moving on to the 9-10 combination, I've gone number 9 Cortez Aratama, number 10 Beauden Barrett. Last week, it was Cam Roigard and Damian McKenzie. Both had their decent moments throughout the contest. I do think that Cam Roigard, as he plays more minutes for the All Blacks after his big injury, will get better and better. But I've decided to keep those two combinations together, which means that Roigard and McKenzie would make their way off my bench, and I'd have Barrett and Ratama as the starting duo. Ratama, I feel like he is one of those players that, with the return of Cam Roigard, he's gone under the radar. He actually had a pretty strong Rugby Championship, so I would like to see him get more minutes. I also want to see Beauden Barrett as that number 10 just for this game up against England, because I feel like we've seen Beauden Barrett at 10 already up against the Australians, but at the same time, we haven't seen him at 10 up against the side that have really pushed New Zealand as of yet. It's normally been Damian McKenzie. So if Barrett can have a good game up against England, I would say that confirms his spot in the starting lineup at 10 up against France and Ireland. But if he can't have a good game here, then maybe we see McKenzie go back into that 10 jersey for those two other tests. But he certainly had a great performance off the bench up against the English, that being Beauden Barrett. So perhaps he can do the same in the starting jersey. In the midfield combo, number 12, I've gone Anton Lienert-Brown. Now, there is the chance that Jordie Barrett will be match fit and available to play in this contest up against the English, but I think I would instead have him coming off the bench rather than in that starting lineup. Plus, Anton Lienert-Brown, he had an alright game up against Japan, but it wouldn't be a bad thing to give him some more minutes just in case Jordie Barrett, if he does come back, ends up re-injuring himself, so it could be quite handy having that backup option. Number 13, I did want to go Billy Proctor, but I do think that for this game, you've got to go Rieko Ioane if he is the player intended to play the big matches. Now, Proctor, he had some decent stats throughout the game up against Japan, had 2 try assists, 55 metres carried, made 13 tackles, but he did also miss 3 tackles in that game, giving away a penalty. So I do think in this game in particular, it would be a good idea to go back to Rieko Ioane. But moving on now to the back three, number 11, Caleb Clark. Now, we didn't see him up against Japan, but I'm sure he'll be rearing to go, ready to take on the English here. Number 14, this is where I've shifted the man who played on the left wing in the last game, put him on the right, and that is Mark Talia. Now, all throughout Super Rugby Pacific, this is the combination that the Blues predominantly used out on their wings. Clark on the left, Talia on the right. Ever since Talia made his way into the All Blacks, though, they seem obsessed with playing him on the left. But I do think that at the moment, based off Sever Reese's form, Talia would actually be the stronger option for that right wing side. He had 80 metres carried, 9 defenders beaten. Anytime that man's on the field, he seems to beat more than 5 defenders. And then also had 2 try assists, so actually a really good game for Mark Talia, which is fantastic to see, as the All Blacks currently have a few question marks in that back three. Definitely out on that right wing though, so I feel Mark Talia could fill that gap quite nicely. At number 15, this is where I've got Will Jordan. Now, some people would have Will Jordan out on the right wing, have Beauden Barrett at 15, and then McKenzie playing 10, but I do like the idea of once again putting Jordan as the number 15. He's got a lot of potential there and just needs a little bit more time at international level to really find his feet for the All Blacks in that spot. Now, I have seen that Ruben Love will be going back to the All Blacks XV, and that has really split opinions, definitely after he scored 2 tries up against Japan. But I will say, for the ones who are saying Ruben Love should play out on the right wing now for the All Blacks, all you've got to do is look at Will Jordan, look at Jordie Barrett when they went through the phase of putting a fullback out on the right wing, and look at the complaints that were rolling in. Ruben Love, I believe I saw he's never started a game as a number 14. So if they were to do that with him, it would be the exact same scenario as what they've done with Will Jordan. And look how long it's taken for Jordan to get some consistent minutes. At number 15, Ruben Love, he will get his time. It's just not quite yet. And at least he'll be getting some minutes for the All Blacks XV, unlike some of these other men that I've mentioned, such as a Billy Proctor, who might have to sit with the All Blacks throughout this whole November tour and not get any minutes. So at least it's some rugby for Ruben Love, but definitely a bright future for that young man when he does once again get the All Blacks call-up. Looking through at what I have done with my bench, though, I have been told that I should have a bench for these videos. So in terms of my All Blacks bench here, it would be number 16, Asafo Moore, number 17, Tamaiti Williams, and number 18, Pasilio Tosi. Now, they didn't really get a lot of dominance up against the Japanese, but we did see Tosi as well as Williams both score themselves a try, and I do think they're adding a little bit more physicality later on up against the English could be exactly what the All Blacks need. Number 19, this is where I have got Tui Palotu. Like I said, I'd love to see him close out the game for the All Blacks, help take them to that next level in terms of the bench. Number 20, this is where you can either go with Sam Cane if you're looking at experience, or Peter Lakai if you're looking at the future. 21, Cam Roigard, 22, Damian McKenzie, and then number 23, Geordie Barrett returning from his injury. Now, I could easily see them switching that as well, having Geordie Barrett in the starting side and Anton Leonard-Brown making his way off of the bench. But that is my All Blacks 23 that I would love to see up against the English. Now, I would assume quite a few people would have a different side to the one that I've just said, so do let me know in the comments who your All Blacks 23 would be for the upcoming match. But as soon as they announce the side, of course, we will be letting you know on the channel. If you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you all for the next one.